Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today, April 17th. So, what we'll mainly be doing in today's video, kind of looking at not a recap of the last video because it was Thursday since I was able to make one, sick a little bit on Friday. So, I do apologize on that. And then just what we're going to be getting into today, a little bit of weather spots. Obviously, there is some weather that's going right across the country as we do speak. Up here in Wisconsin, there was some snow. Uh, the White Sox game potentially has a little bit of snow there as well today. So we'll just have to keep an eye out on all that stuff as the day moves along. Nothing too major at this point in time, but if there is any changes that do change throughout the day, we'll leave it down in the comments. And then getting over to some core picks over on FanDuel, talking about some of the top stacks just in general for today's slate overall. Pretty interesting slate. There's not a lot of history pitcher versus hitters on the slate, so it should make a pretty appealing one and pretty interesting one just in general. Might have to be doing a little bit more digging if you're trying to deep dive today just in general. But without further ado, we're getting into these core picks that I do have for today at this point in time. At the pitcher position, went with Jacob DeGrom against the Kansas City Royals. He has decent history versus Kansas City in the past. He had 46 points versus them earlier this season in 2023. So it looks like a pretty solid, pretty safe play. Obviously, we know the type of upside that Jacob DeGrom can have on any given slate. So do like him quite a bit. Kevin Gossman's pitching really well. He's about $500 more if you want to go to that direction. Maybe a little bit tougher matchup as well. And then we move down to second base. We got Marcus Semien here at $3,200. 8 for 16 versus Jordan Lyles with one home run in his career. So some pretty good history there. He's got multi-hit games in like 3 out of his last 5 games. So definitely somebody worth considering at this point in time, but definitely a guy that is going to be appealing. He's a guy that does have a good long track record versus the pitcher he's facing today. He's got good recent history. So he's going to look like a pretty appealing play overall. And then we move down to third base with Nolan Arenado. He is 4 for 10 versus Merrill Kelly, who's pitching for the Diamondbacks today. He's got 2 home runs versus him in his career. It's been a little bit slower start to the year for Nolan Arenado at this point in time. We'll bring up some of these recent games too, but still hitting 333, only the 2 home runs. He's got, multi-hit games, 2 out of the last 3 games. There was the 1-0 game in there, but, more often than not, he's still getting base hits and still a relatively safe play. He's a little bit cheaper than he is on some other slates at $3,700. So do like the upside that he does offer on tonight's slate overall. And then we move down to the outfield. Got Robbie Grossman as the first guy up at $2,700. Another guy that has really good history in the past versus Jordan Lyles. He is 3 for 9 versus him with 2 home runs. So do like that upside there. Obviously, this matchup did happen once earlier this year. Unfortunately, Robbie Grossman did not end up playing in that game. So if he's able to go tonight, then he's going to look like a pretty solid play overall, and does offer some pretty good upside at that as well. Obviously, he's a guy that is a little bit more hit or miss. So, but at $2,700, that's not a bad price range to try to take that shot overall. And, the Rangers going to look like one of the better teams to stack overall on tonight's slate, just in general. But then last but not least, for the core picks that we do have, we got Whit Merrifield. He is $2,900. Obviously, you can play him at second base. You can play him at outfield. We have Marcus Semien already at second base, so he slots in the outfield today. A pretty decent start for him to the year. Kind of a nice bounce back year for him just in general after the down season last year. In his career, he is 2 for 5 with 2 home runs. There's Christian Javier, who is the starting pitcher for the Houston Astros today. So do like the upside that he does present there. $2,900, not a bad price tag by any means. So do like him just in general. Obviously, he's a guy that doesn't always start every single day, so maybe just keep an eye on that. If anything does change with that, I will leave an update down in the comments below as well. But if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed, you have $11,900 remaining, just under $3,000 per player. So definitely a decent amount of room and flexibility. If you want to pay down for a couple guys, pay up for a couple guys, kind of mix and match from there. Definitely makes a lot of sense on today's slate overall. Going to be a pretty interesting slate, as I already did mention, since, there's some pretty high-end pitchers pitching today. There's not a lot of hitter versus pitcher history just out there in general. So going to have to do a little bit more deeper diving opposed to like some other days, but going to make for a very interesting slate just in general. And then with that being said, we're going to move over to the top stacks that I do have listed for today. So I'll show you guys the bottom half of the cheat sheet that I got going on for today. The cheat is available. It's up on my YouTube page under the community tab. It's up on Twitter. It's up on Facebook. It's up on Patreon. If you want more specific notes for any given slate for MLB DFS, you can check out my Patreon small monthly donation over there. Gives you a lot of notes, just whether or not I would play pitchers, if they're in play, if they're risky play, if there's somebody that I would avoid, just in general, some more information against them. kind of how they performed against the team, either this year or last season. And then kind of the hitter versus pitcher matchup. So if there is a notable hitter that has hit a pitcher really well, then they come down in there too. Maybe that's somebody that we look at playing from a hitter perspective as well. And then some of the top stacks, obviously, do expand a little bit over there more because on the cheat sheet I can only fit 4 or 5 in just because of space, and try not to make that text too tiny at the same time. Some slates that's really easy to get 6 teams that are worth stacking. Some slates, there's only 3 that look like they were stacking at least early on in the day. But you can always get some contrarian stacks going against a good pitcher too as well, because if they don't show up with their good stuff, that's a way to get different and kind of win some GPP tournaments at the same time. But with that being said, the top stacks that I do have for today, we have the St. Louis Cardinals. They're going against Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly's pitched pretty well the past 2 seasons, obviously, but the St. Louis Cardinals have hit him pretty well in the past. Nolan Arenado's in the core picks. He's 4 for 10, 2 home runs versus him. You got Wilson Contreras, 2 for 4 with 1 home run versus him. You got Tommy Edmonds, 2 for 4 versus him in his career. Brendan Donovan, I believe, was 2 for 4 versus him as well. So a lot of decent history there. Obviously, some of it is a little bit smaller on the end of sample size, though, but do like the Cardinals quite a bit as a stack. Probably not going to be a super popular one since Merrill Kelly, has been a decent pitcher for the last 2 seasons. And then the next one up that I do have is the Colorado Rockies. This one's probably going to be more popular. This game's at Coors Field. They are playing against the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight. It is Rich Hill on the mound, who is like 43 years old at this point in time. So does like a decent matchup for them just in general. We'll see, Rich Hill throughout his career. The big pitch for him is kind of in the curveball. How does that move in Coors Field with the elevated altitude and everything else like that? That's a kind of a question that remains to be seen. Some of these Rockies hitters do hit left-handed pitching pretty well, most notably CJ Cron. So it could be a good matchup for them. And then we have Charlie Blackmon, who's got really good history versus Rich Hill in the past. So a lot of different options there that you could look at from this Rockies team overall. Plus, you get the added benefit of Coors Field. Obviously, just make sure on the weather spot there, things can change pretty quickly out in Colorado as well. Then we move over to the LA Dodgers. They're going against David Peterson today. There's not a lot of history there, but the Dodgers lineup is pretty potent just in general. They are a team that can hit left-handed pitching reasonably well as well. So do like the Dodgers once again today. And then last but not least, the Texas Rangers going against Jordan Lyles. Most times Jordan Lyles is pitching. I'm trying to stack against him just because he's one of the lower end starting pitchers that is around baseball at this point in time. Yes, he can have good starts here and there, but there's a lot of blowout starts that do happen as well. They hit him pretty well the last time as well. So that is something that we would look at. Obviously, Marcus Semien, Robbie Grossman, Nate Lowe, those are the kind of guys that I'm mainly targeting. Corey Seager would be a guy if he was healthy at this point in time, but if you want to mix and match some other guys in there too, Odolis Garcia, Josh Jung, Jonah Heim's been hitting the ball really well too as of late. So that is something to consider as well. But that's kind of what I have in terms of the top stacks for today. You could throw the Braves up in there as well, because at least early on it looked like Blake Snell was going to start today. Now it looks like Ryan Weathers is going to start. So pretty young, inexperienced pitcher. I won't even say inexperienced, but pretty young pitcher. Doesn't have a lot of history versus the Braves team just in general. And then at the same time, he could have some type of pitch on him. It doesn't pitch too far in the game. So if you can get to him early, if you can get to the bullpen early, could be an advantageous spot for this Braves team overall. There's some decent salary players for the Braves team as well. So that is something to consider. Ozzie Albies, $2,800 has been hitting the ball really well. So second base, kind of a plentiful position. Shortstop's a little bit tougher today. Parts of outfield's a little bit tougher. First base, there's a lot of options there. So should make for a pretty interesting slate just in general. But that's kind of what I have in terms of core picks at this point in time. If you guys do have any more specific MLB DFS questions, be sure to let me know down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. We'll also try to get some starting lineups out to you guys down in the comments as well. And then if there is any updates to the core throughout the day, I'll leave that down there as well. So that's kind of where I'm at for today. Hopefully you guys found this video and this information helpful just in general. Before we get out of here, we're going to put up the Prize Picks banner. So this is the promo code if you're brand new to Prize Picks. First signing up, use this code. You get 100% first match deposit up to $100. Helps you out a little bit, helps me out just a little bit as well. Prize Pick is a parlay building app. You can build lines with MLB props. You can build lines with any sport prop alongside MLB if that's something you're interested in as well. But definitely a good one that I do recommend. And as opposed to traditional parlays, if you flex your picks, you can get one wrong and still make a profit at the same time, as opposed to a traditional parlay where if you're betting 3 things, all 3 things have to happen. But if you're betting 3 things on Prize Picks with the flex play, you only need to get 2 out of 3 right to make a profit at the same time. So, and then if you do happen to get all 3 right, then you get a little bit bigger profit at the same time. So a lot of good to come for Prize Picks. Definitely be sure to check it out. I try to put content up for Prize Picks up on my Twitter at Coach Craig Sport from time to time. If anything really does stand out for me on the daily, sometimes I'll slide these into these videos as well. So definitely be sure to check that out for the future as well. But with that being said, do appreciate everybody that did come in to check out this video, this live stream for today. If you're brand new to my channel, haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's really for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, it's mainly MLB DFS. We got XFL DFS and USFL DFS going on, which was kind of interesting with the overlap. We got one more regular season of XFL DFS. Then we got week 2 of USFL DFS. So if you're into that at all, definitely be sure to check out that content. If you're into NFL draft prospect interviews, be sure to check those ones up on the channel as well. But with that being said, that's really all I have for today's video. Do appreciate everybody that did take the time out of their day, whether you're watching live or on replay. Definitely means a lot to me. And I hope that each and every one of you has a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight as well.